Good morning. It's now time to call our meeting of the Bullitt County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome the media and visitors. I would also like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones and other devices so that we can conduct the people's business without interruption. Commissioner Ray Davis, will you give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'm going to ask that you remember the family of Mr. Roy Thompson in your prayers this morning as well, please.
And we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege of serving our county as we gather as representatives of our communities. We ask your guidance for clarity of mind to understand the issues before us and the wisdom to make the right decisions with fairness and integrity for the people of Bullitt County. Please bless our nation, the United States of America, our military, and every citizen that calls Bullitt County their home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Mitzi White, will you call the roll of the commissioners, please?
I, Venus Missy White, present as clerk of the Board of the Commissioners of Bullitt County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman David Bennett.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Anthony Simmons. Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
Commissioner Nick Newkirk. Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ray Davis.
Aye.
I've determined that we have 6 members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bullitt County. I now yield the floor back to you, Chairman.
Thank you. Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board?
Yes, sir. We just need to move item 5 under consent to new business. There's one small change that needs to bring up.
Any other changes or discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
All in favor? Motion to approve the general agenda passes unanimously. Next up, we're going to have Mr. Robert Busby, the district attorney for the Ogeechee Judicial Circuit, come up and give us a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Bennett. Good morning. Thank you for having me here, sharing your platform with me. A lot has happened in the district attorney's office over the last year. We've made a lot of changes. We've fixed a lot of issues, and I was hoping to find some way to share everything that had been going on in the office with the public, or most of it, I should say. And Chairman Bennett graciously invited me to come and do that here. And so I do appreciate this opportunity that y'all have provided me. The most common question I've gotten in the last year is it how you thought it would be? I'm sure y'all have got that quite a bit too. Meaning, is being district attorney what I expected it would be like? Frankly, the answer is yes and no. There were a number of issues that I was aware of before I got into office, and then there turned out to be quite a few other problems that I didn't learn about until I got here. I will start with the stuff that I was expecting. Where clicker's not working. Okay, I think it's working now. All right. So the first and most important issue that I was aware of when I came in was a failure to win the cases that we needed to win. And that was really the first thing I decided to attack coming in. And to understand how I approached resolving that issue, I'm gonna have to give you a little bit of background. We have two offices for the that the district attorney occupies in the circuit. We've got an office here in Statesboro, actually right down the street, and then we've got an office in the old courthouse in Springfield that actually now takes up the entirety of the second floor. When I first got into office, this is how it was divided up. Bullock, Scriven, and Jenkins, which account for roughly 70% of our cases, was handled out of the Statesboro office. Effingham County's 30% was handled over there in the Springfield office. As you can see, we had several positions empty. That was one of the first things I noticed when I got in. I also noticed that there was quite a mix in experience level amongst our prosecutors in the office, with 5 having literal decades of experience, and then we had 2 who were brand new. Interestingly, our two most inexperienced attorneys were actually by themselves handling a judge's caseload out of the Statesboro office, while 2 of the 5 most experienced attorneys were actually paired with each other. So one of the first things I did, Effingham County very generously, I think more than doubled our office space in Effingham County. So I reorganized the office. I moved the 2 smaller counties over to the Springfield office. This gave us a more or less even split. It also allowed me to create trial teams. We moved the open positions to the Springfield office. From a practical sense, this actually made it easier to recruit. Springfield's just so much closer to Savannah, and they just got such a larger pool of attorneys. I think half the attorneys in that office were actually commuting from somewhere else. This also allowed us to create trial teams where you could pair these younger attorneys with a mentor to help them get their feet under them and learn how to practice law. And then arguably one of the most important things is we were able to create a major crimes division. Major crimes like rape, armed robbery, especially murder, those cases are extremely complex. Tried a few of those in my time as a defense attorney. You're talking weeks of preparation. And one thing I saw before I got in was if I'm preparing for a murder, a week or 2 in advance, that's all I'm focused on when I was a defense attorney. My opponents in the DA's office had to be in court, handling car break-ins, drug cases, and that's just no way to handle our most serious criminal offenses. So we got 2 very experienced attorneys moved into those positions and lowered their caseload. And as I'll show in a moment, they've been able to have success prosecuting our most serious cases. Sorry, give me just a second. Next thing I did, I wanted to take some pressure off of the non-major crimes attorneys. I created a pretrial diversion program. This benefits the community in that it diverts deserving first-time nonviolent offenders who qualify away from the criminal justice system, gives them an opportunity to prove themselves, and hopefully return to society as a normal, good citizen, let's say. From our perspective in the district attorney's office, each one of those cases is hours of time and attention that, the attorneys are having to spend, prosecuting a relatively minor case instead of spending that time on more serious offenses and more dangerous offenders. And then incidentally, all that money goes to the county, so that's, I think, good for everybody all around. And then finally, I required my attorneys to show a little more discretion in what cases they actually take to trial. When you go in front of a jury, it's all or nothing. If you win, that's great. If you lose everything. You get nothing, the citizens get nothing, the victims get nothing. So all of that together, we've had an excellent year. This was an Effingham County case. It was a fleeing case, actually began in Rincon. High-speed chase, ended in, I want to say it was the Home Depot parking lot in Pooler. Flew up I-16 at well over 100 miles per hour. Guilty on all counts for that one. And this defendant got 10 years to serve. Another Effingham County case, willful obstruction. I don't have the verdict sheet, but this was a jury trial as well, found guilty, and the judge sentenced him to 5 years probation. This was an odd one. So we had a 3-count indictment here: aggravated assault, aggravated battery, and terroristic threats. Aggravated battery is easily the most difficult charge to prove. And somehow we got a not guilty on the terroristic threats, guilty on a lesser included of the aggravated assault, and then just a guilty on the aggravated battery. This defendant got a total of 21 years in prison for the misdemeanor and the felony. We had a tampering with evidence case that we got a guilty on the top count and then a misdemeanor. This was a theft of an automobile off of a car lot. It was a $100,000 pickup truck. One of our new hires over in the Springfield office actually tried this case with the help of a more experienced attorney and got guilty verdicts on all charges. Funny thing about this one, he hasn't been sentenced yet. While the jury was deliberating, he was on bond, and I think he saw the writing on the wall. So he took off and is currently wanted to finish the sentencing at his trial. But that was guilty on all counts. This case here in Bullitt County, this was our first true major crimes prosecution. Without going into too much detail, it was a double homicide. It was the kind of case that we frequently lost in the past. Just the nature of the victims, the nature of the witnesses. But Ms. Gibson, who was lead prosecutor on this case, was able to spend hours and hours. I think she spent about 2 weeks preparing for this. We got guilty on all charges. And this dangerous criminal got life without parole for both murders, plus 10 years, and he is now out of the community for good. And I think we're all safer for it. So far, that's been a success. We hope that continues. I've got some great attorneys working at the office, and I've got all the faith in the world in them that we're going to be able to continue this winning record. The next thing I was aware of coming into the office was that there was a very, very old death penalty case pending in Effingham County. This is Elwin Crocker Jr. and his little sister Mary. They were found buried in their step-grandmother's backyard on December 20th, 2018. They were tortured and starved to death by these people. Elwin Crocker Sr. is the guy in the middle. He's the biological father of our two victims. His wife his wife Candace is in the top left, obviously stepmother to the victims. Her brother Mark is bottom right. Her mother Kim is top right, and then Kim's boyfriend Roy Prater is down bottom left. Judge Hubie and I came into office together in 2025, and we both together inherited this case. And we have been diligently trying to move it. At the time we got this case, Candace had pled guilty to life without parole, and Mr. Prater had pled guilty but not been sentenced. And in 6 years, that was all that had happened on this case. You generally, as a prosecutor, don't want a case to last more than 2 years. And I'm talking about murders, less serious offenses. You really want to resolve those within a year if you can get that done. The reason for that is that delay almost always benefits the defense. Witnesses die or become unavailable, memories get hazy, and just generally things happen that screw up your case. And in this case, things have started to happen after 6 years. For one thing, the lead investigator, I'd say one of our, keystone witnesses in this case, the guy who was with it from the beginning, he developed a progressive health condition that will render him unavailable for trial within about a year's time. Mr. Prater down there in the bottom left, he was one of the first people to actually talk to us about the case. It's how we ended up with the guilty plea. It's why he wasn't sentenced. We expected him to testify at trial. I think we got anywhere from 24 to 48 hours worth of interview with him, telling us what was going on inside that house. Well, turns out he was ill and also on the verge of death. And then Kim in the top right, who is supposedly also ill, she receives dialysis, and any, court dates we have with her are limited to half days. So that's kind of dragged us down a bit. To address the first problem with the lead investigator and Mr. Prater, my office did something that's pretty unusual in a criminal case. We motioned for depositions. These aren't like some of you may be familiar with civil depositions where it's lawyers sitting around a conference table. This is different. You actually go into the courtroom, you hire a video crew, the judge is there, and you basically conduct a part of the trial that can be played on the TV for the jury. So we motioned to do that just to try and capture Mr. Prater's testimony and our lead investigator's testimony before they became unavailable. Unfortunately, well, let me hold off on that for a second. This is not the ideal way to handle it. It's very unusual. This is the first time I've ever seen a deposition in a criminal case. I didn't even know you could do it until we motioned for it, because generally speaking, you want your witnesses sitting in the box, talking to the jurors, looking them in the eye, so they can judge their veracity, not, watching a video from a year or two ago of them testifying to a mostly empty courtroom. But we ultimately had no choice. So me and the trial team, we sat down, we discussed the case. I think we were approaching the 7-year mark. And, on death penalty cases, you've got to try these people separately. You can't try them together. So we were looking at 3 roughly 6-week trials. You've also got to do what I guess you could best describe as a preliminary appeal in a death penalty case. You send it up to the Supreme Court. They look at it. They give you the green light. And then, you take it to trial. That usually takes anywhere from 9 months to a year. So trying all 3 of these defendants was starting to look like a 10-year ordeal. So given everything that was going on, we decided to try to narrow our focus down for death penalty purposes to just who we thought was most deserving. Not that they didn't all deserve the death penalty. So we pled out Kim Wright. She got life without parole. And then her son, Mark, we let him plea open-ended, and he got 80 years. I will say we showed a little bit of mercy in his case. Elwin Jr. was actually in the ground for 2 years before Mary died, and he had gone undiscovered. Mark was actually the one who got word to law enforcement that something had happened to Mary, and realistically, if he hadn't have done that, those 2 kids might still be buried in step-grandmother's backyard. So I thought it was appropriate to show some leniency, but he also did some pretty terrible things. So I thought 80 years was appropriate. So that left us with Elwin, biological father of our victims, and having sort of skimmed everything down, focused in on him, we were getting ready for trial. Then last month, Roy Prater died before we could get him deposed. So all of that testimony, all of those hours of interviews were gone. A couple of weeks ago, the lead prosecutor on this case left to join the new U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Georgia. He had been with the office for 5 years. He had been on this case, not quite from the beginning, but almost. So now he's gone. His trial partner, there were 3 of us, me, him, and his second chair. She retired. So now that leaves me alone with this case. And candidly, a case like this, this isn't something I would try by myself. I would need to reassemble the trial team. And we are now, this December will be 8 years since the bodies were discovered. November will be 10 years since the first victim died. In light of these new setbacks, I haven't made a final decision on what I'm going to do with this case. I still believe Mr. Crocker deserves to be executed, but I'm going to think about it, pray about it, and as soon as I have an answer, I'll let the public know. Another thing I was aware of coming in is that we had a number of officer-involved shootings that had been investigated but had not been cleared by the district attorney's office. Many of these cases the investigation had ended. It had been years, basically, sitting at the district attorney's office, and our law enforcement were waiting in limbo to find out if they were going to be charged with something. So I made it a priority when I came in to quickly but thoroughly review those cases and get a final answer for our law enforcement officers. I'm happy to say that in the 3 shootings that were pending, 2 here in Bullock County, 1 in Effingham, I was able to definitively clear as justified all the officers involved in those cases, give them formal notice so that they could move on with their lives. Wasteful spending, that was also on my radar before I got into the office. I can't go through everything we found, but I'll go through some of the highlights. First would be the furniture. The old administration had hired a interior decorator to pick out some furniture at a cost of $2,679. This was to put furniture in 2 rooms in the Statesboro office, the lobby, and the district attorney's personal office space. That furniture totaled $10,000 for a combined total of $12,788.76. Almost all the other furniture in the office is made by inmates in a prison work program. We find it to be of good quality and perfectly adequate for our needs. Going forward, any new furniture purchases or any new furniture that we acquire will be from either that source or another similarly reasonable place. We also had a couple of redundant or unnecessary positions. For example, we had one department with 5 employees, 2 of whom were department heads. Department head is obviously a premium position when it comes to pay. That position in particular was costing us about $100,000, which is about 50% more than your normal entry-level folks in that department. And it's also not good. It's not conducive to good management to have 2 department heads managing 3 people. So we consolidated that position into one. We also had a position called courtroom technology engineer. That job was mostly cutting and editing videos for court, burning stuff to DVDs, and helping some of our less computer literate staff members with basic IT stuff. I'm a computer guy. I actually build computers as a hobby. I like the idea of having someone on site to, handle these sort of basic problems. But it's not a luxury I could justify when we're missing attorneys, we're missing investigators, we're missing legal assistants. So that position cost us about $6,000 a month, $7,000 a year, $70,000 a year. And it was not a true IT position. We were still paying Georgia Technologies $600 a month to handle our actual IT issues, on top of an hourly rate for any issues they had to come in and resolve. So, sorry, I lost my place. So for instance, it was $601. That was our base rate. This was in December of 2024, the last month under that arrangement. Georgia Technologies had to come in and work on our server. So to do that actual IT work, our bill went up by $1,050 to cover those hourly costs. So excluding work hours, Georgia Technologies and that engineer position were costing us close to $80,000 a year. So I eliminated that position and just brought Georgia Technologies in on an unlimited contract, which also gave us 24/7 remote monitoring, which would come in handy when we got cyber attacked and actually saved most of our files. This new rate brought us down to $21,000 a year, an annual savings of over $57,000. We also had an unusual cell phone policy. We paid our staff $68 per month to use their personal cell phones for government business. That comes out to about $26,000 a year when you account for all 34 employees I think we had at the time. In addition to being overly expensive, paying your government employees to do government business on their personal phones potentially leads to some very serious legal exposure down the road that I'm not going to get into. But suffice it to say, even if it wasn't cheaper to do something else, we would have had to end this policy. We ultimately found a new plan for $14,380 a year, saving the office $11,731. There's a lot of examples. We had a climate-controlled storage unit that was housing, I don't know, maybe if I'm being generous, $200 worth of curtains, an old table, and some old filing cabinets, and some files. We obviously eliminated that, saving nearly $3,000 per year, and then surplus the furniture, which we weren't using and had no intention to. There was also the staff development, sip and paint outing. We don't do that anymore. And then there's the Christmas parties. I suspect my staff probably misses these most. What used to be practice was that the office would rent a venue and cater, I guess what I would call a gala event for Christmas every year for all the staff and a +1. This was one from 2021, held over in the Market District. The appetizers look good. Ribeye steaks served for everyone to a tune of about $1,500. Last year, we did something very different, as you might imagine. We just had the staff get together at the office during the day. We encouraged them to wear ugly sweaters. We did a mixture of barbecue and potluck. You can see me back there in the back, kind of lurking. I thought it was great. We had a good time. And, you know, we didn't have to spend thousands of dollars. Really, I mean, the examples go on. I think the biggest improvement in this area has been getting a qualified office manager. She drives the staff and our vendors crazy, and I love it. You know, why are we using so much paper? You know, did you tell them that we're a government agency and we don't pay sales tax? You know, do you need the expensive toilet paper in the bathrooms? You know, that's little things that over time add up and make a big difference. And then the last thing that I knew coming in that I was going to have to address was that the position that I was assuming had in effect been vacant for at least a couple of years. This caused a variety of problems, both inside and outside the organization. Happily, this was easily fixed just by going to work. I may not be at my desk all the time. I'm in between two offices. I'm in court. You know, I'm meeting with this sheriff or this chief. I'm in the county annex giving a presentation. But I'm here. The employees see me, and I'm in charge. And that's a big change. And then I felt like, and I said this before I was elected, you know, part of the job description of your district attorney is on your biggest cases, the ones that are most important to the community. You expect your district attorney to usually be lead counsel or at least be assisting or taking the lead on those cases. And so I've actually appeared in court as a prosecutor on a few high-profile cases, including the death penalty case over in Effingham County, and the case involving the Statesboro PD officer who was shot and very nearly killed about a year and a half, 2 years ago. So that was the stuff I knew was broken before I got in. There were also a whole host of problems that I didn't know about until I arrived. I've compared it to walking through a minefield. You know, a lot of this stuff You don't know it's there until you step on it and it blows up. One example, it was actually my second day in office. Towards the end of the day, one of my prosecutors comes in looking worn out. He sits across from my desk and he says, "Boss, you may be getting a call from the news." And I said, "Well, okay, what's going on?" Turns out through a variety of errors, COVID, and just simply overlooking things, we had a defendant that had been held for 12 years without a conviction. 4 years were in the DOC, 8 were here locally, and I'm told that is a national record for longest time incarcerating someone without a conviction. I think I got some latitude on that one because it was only my second day. Another example that happened over the summer, a confidential informant's identity was exposed because our office distributed buy videos with discovery to defense counsel, who then obviously distributed it to their clients. The cooperator's life was literally put in jeopardy. The Bullitt County Sheriff's Office was scrambling to get him to safety. And, you know, I asked, how could this happen? Turns out this office had no policy ever for how to deal with this kind of sensitive evidence. And apparently this had been happening for years where we had just been giving this stuff out. And this was just the first time that the mine had exploded. So we very quickly put together a formal policy for handling CI videos and other sensitive evidence like that balances, you know, our responsibility to defense counsel, but also, you know, protects these vital resources that law enforcement relies on. I got a lot of these, but I've narrowed it down to just a few. Few months into my first term, after I appointed the chief investigator, he was moving into his new office and he came to see me. I said, "Boss, I found drugs in my office." I'm like, "Oh, really?" We did a sweep, found out that we had big Tupperware containers of evidence from various law enforcement agencies that apparently we had just taken home from court and brought to the office and stuck in closets and in rooms. These were from various agencies, I think GBI, Screven County Sheriff's Department. I think we may have had some Bullitt County stuff, some Statesboro stuff. It was DNA, hair, bloody clothes. I mean, you name it, we had it. We also had unsecured guns and ammunition that none of us were aware of. You know, our building is your building. It's a county building. So of course, inmates do the maintenance. So painting, fixing lights, whatever we need. We've got inmates from time to time wandering through the office, and unbeknownst to us or them, they're 5 feet away from a gun and ammunition. We were very fortunate that mine didn't blow up on us. Obviously, we called all the agencies and said, "Hey, we need you to come get your stuff and destroy it," or whatever. We also had hundreds of cases that were assigned to people who either were no longer in the office or were assigned to no one at all. You can see Judge Muldrew up there. I believe he left the DA's office in 2016. I think he would have been surprised to know he still had a few cases assigned to him. Judge Kushner, Bullitt County's state court judge, he had some cases. Catherine Sumner and Spencer Tyson, who are the Bullitt County and Effingham County solicitors respectively, they have cases. This isn't just a minor housekeeping issue. Like, we had to dismiss a lot of these cases because they had been sitting, and if they're not assigned to somebody, nobody's paying attention to them. And so the statute of limitations had run on some of these, and so we had no choice. We had to null pros them. Far and away, the biggest problem I discovered was the budget. I think my thoughts on the budget are well documented, so I'm not going to delve into that, at least not until tomorrow. But I did want to shed some light on how we ultimately got to the point we're at and how my office has been trying to address the root of the problem that got our office in the funding situation that it's in. I don't know any other way to do it than to be blunt. The district attorney's budget has been mismanaged for years by people who were unqualified to manage it. One thing I discovered was that in large part, the budget was kept by hand. So you may recognize this. This is a budget request form used, at budget time, seeking funding for our office to the counties. What they would do is just with a pen and a calculator every month, you see July up there, they calculate it up and handwrite on it where they thought we were at that point in the fiscal year. And they just did it that way for every month. Income was kept basically the same way. We'd get a check from the counties or from wherever, and it would just get handwritten into a book. Now the office pays $2,200 a year for QuickBooks Enterprise. But it was primarily used to print checks, and transactions would be entered in there so that our accountants could create a report to submit to the county at the end of the year to hopefully show our actual spending. But when it came down to it, when I actually had a question about the budget, what I would get is a piece of paper on a notepad and a pen, and then they would be trying to figure out, okay, well, how much do we have? How much can we afford? This was created in response to a question from me about how much space we had to hire a new employee. Again, just done by hand with a calculator. And incidentally, it was wrong. We are budgeted for 11 attorneys. And I know on at least one occasion, when I was requesting a new attorney or discussing hiring a new attorney, I was told we only had 10. And it took us about 30 minutes to establish that actually we had 11 positions open, or 11 positions total with one more open, because we're unable to generate a report, and this is what we're left to do. As I said earlier, we've got someone great in that position now. She's really whipping us into shape. I also asked a friend of mine who had been an accountant for many years and also happens to be an elected official, to come in blind and basically kind of audit what we're doing. Like, what should we be doing? He was very helpful. His take was that the office manager was on the right track. He gave us a few pointers to, a few things to fix. And we've been working diligently to do that, and I think we're on the right track. And then I did want to say just to the Bullitt County Commission, I know you guys are trying to help with this, and if I don't seem appreciative, I want you to know that I am. I know y'all didn't create this mess, as I just showed, but I am grateful that y'all are trying to help me get it fixed. And then the last thing that was sort of like an atomic bomb in the office was the cyber attack. I really can't talk about the cyber attack without first thanking David Rogers and his guys at Georgia Technologies. I mean, when I say they saved us, they absolutely saved us. That 24/7 monitoring meant 24/7 monitoring. They stopped these guys wherever they were in Russia or Bangladesh, I think around 5 or 6 in the morning. They were quickly on our server. They shut it down. They kicked them out. Had no one been looking by the time we came into the office at 8 or 8:30, we would have lost everything. Thanks to David and those guys at Georgia Technologies, we were back up and running within a week. Within a month, we were basically back to normal. I just really can't say enough for them. Had the hackers got to our active case files, a year later, we would still be trying to get back to normal, trying to recover. So how this happened, there's really a couple of decisions that led to this. You know, my office deals with hundreds of terabytes of data. If you think about dash cam videos, body cam videos, interview videos, things like that, multiply that times thousands of cases. That's what we're having to host and distribute to defense attorneys and receive from law enforcement. In order to actually host that data with a reputable company like Dropbox or Axon, you're looking at, the cheapest we found was about $4,500 per month. Since the office couldn't afford that, the prior administration engaged a company called TrioFox. TrioFox charged $1,400 per year. The reason for that was that, unlike Axon or Dropbox, they don't host anything. What they do is they create a mechanism for other people to remotely connect to your server and then pull the files off. The TrioFox, what they call virtual server, that was the door the hackers used to get in. But we have recently engaged Axon to handle the service for us. It's the same one I think Ms. Sumner came in and discussed with y'all some months ago, which has actually worked out great because she's done a lot of the footwork for us in Bullitt County with the various agencies. We looked at other options. Axon was the cheapest, and they're very much law enforcement facing. You know, they make body cams, they deal with cops, they deal with prosecutors a lot. And our expectation is that by this time next year, we'll be fully transitioned over behind their billions of dollars worth of security on their servers, and no longer in any danger from cyber attacks. Closing thoughts, it's been a wild year, to say the least. A lot has happened, but I can say with confidence that the Ogeechee District Attorney's Office is in a better place now than when I found it. We're winning cases. I mean, that was really the biggest thing. It is a tough job. I'm challenged every day dealing with this, but I love it. I really do. I hope I get to do this for a long time. And I'm grateful, very grateful to the people in this circuit for giving me the opportunity to do this. And I appreciate y'all giving me this platform. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Busby before he leaves? Just want to thank you for coming out today and sharing that, not just with us, but with the public, so they could see what's happening.
Well, I appreciate y'all, like I said, sharing this platform with me. Y'all have way more reach than I do, so I appreciate that.
And we're going to talk some more tomorrow, I understand as well.
Right.
Before we get going any further, we've been at this for about an hour now. Anybody to my left or right need a break? Okay. Y'all good over there? All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the public hearing on the public safety facility financing. And I believe before we get into the actual public comments, that Mr. Akins has some a presentation that he's going, or.
Yes, sir. I'll introduce Mr. Gephardt, who, and let me just explain this. As you know, the Board of Commissioners previously approved a real estate sales contract to purchase 5.07 acres on Highway 301 South from Keith and Patricia Copeland for $1,750,000. And the intent is to finance the purchase, and I think you have previously adopted a resolution on this, to purchase it through an installment sale agreement with the Association County Commissioners of Georgia pursuant to the provisions of Section 36-60-13 of the Georgia Code. And as a part of that process, Section 36-60-13G requires a public hearing when the purchase involves real estate. So notice of the public hearing was published in the Statesboro Herald on February 26th, March 5th, and March 12th, scheduled for today. And Mr. Doug Gephardt from our financial advisor, Davenport and Company LLC, is here to present a summary of the transaction. Doug?
So,
Thank you.
okay, again, Doug Gephardt with Davenport. Thanks for letting me be in front of the commission this morning and allowing us to serve as financial advisor. So in Georgia, there's certain ways to go about financing capital projects, and there's a variety of different ways. You may recall when we were here for the jail financing that we used the Public Facilities Authority as that particular issuer. Well, when we looked about the facts at hand, they didn't have the power to issue bonds for this type of financing. And really the only available option that met the timeline that the county wanted to pursue is something that's called an installment sale agreement. And so essentially the way the installment sale or lease purchase type agreement is that the county will have to sell the property to ACCG, which is the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, and then lease that property back during the terms of the financing. And the financing, the lease payments are equivalent to whatever the debt service is. So it's a financing mechanism in which we are able to lease purchase. And so part of the related issues are, the first, we have the public hearing related to the property, right? Being able to sell that to ACCG. And then secondly, the first item of new business is a resolution approving the terms and conditions associated with the installment sale agreement. So that's why we have, technically the public hearing is only on that property and then the new business, but because they're so related, we thought it'd be good to share the results here today. So one of the things that we did, flipping to page 1 of the presentation, is that Davenport, we sent out a request for proposals to local, regional, and national lending institutions. The financing is for the public safety or fire station complex. Can you scroll down? Beautiful. And so what we ended up doing was sending out that RFP and getting responses back to banks. Unlike the past financing, this was done as a bank loan as opposed to a public market sale. So we didn't have the costs of preparing an official statement or rating agency costs, et cetera. That's due to the size and term of the loan that were being contemplated. So ultimately, we ended up getting responses back from 6 different banks: Great Oaks Bank, Pinnacle Synovus, JP Morgan Chase, Queensboro Bank, Magnolia Bank, and Webster Bank. And so what we can see there highlighted in the middle, which we'll get in the next page, is JP Morgan Chase offered us the lowest interest rate in the bank that we're going to be recommending. And the next page summarizes their proposal. So the financing term amount is just north of $2 million. That covers the purchase price of the property plus some dollars for renovating it to make it a working fire station, and then covering certain costs of issuance with issuing the debt. So the term is 10 years at an interest rate of 3.61. That's really quite outstanding, and way better than our planning rate that we were doing it. One of the things that we did have is we are recommending this proposal. It was the lowest interest rate. It did allow for some prepayment flexibility. So starting on June 15th of 2032 is when that bond or this installment sale can be paid off early. We looked at an alternative financing. There was one that did offer prepayment flexibility at any time. However, the interest costs that were associated pursuing that financing outweighed the potential benefit due to staff's determination that the likelihood of Fire Fund having a ton of extra dollars available to be able to pay this bond off in the next few years would be somewhat unlikely. So flipping to the next page, shows the final debt service. Again, roughly $2 million financed over a 10-year period, having the annual payments be around $247,000 a year for a total cost of $2.47 million, starting in fiscal year 2027. First payments in December of this year. So ultimately, what we're going to recommend to the Board of Commissioners is to, later today in the agenda, as part of the new business, is to adopt the resolution approving the installment sale agreement with JP Morgan Chase due to the fact that it was the lowest interest rate. It was a fixed interest rate until maturity, so we're not subject to interest rate risk. Obviously, with all the things that are going around geopolitically, we didn't want to have any of that potential risk at hand. And also that it was fixed between now and the closing date and very minimal closing costs. So flipping the page, next steps and timetable. Today, we're going to ask you to approve that. The balance of March will finalize all the closing documents in addition with the real estate transaction. And on April 1st, the property will be purchased. Then we will close on the loan, property will be purchased, and then it'll be in the title of the county, and then the county will transfer it to ACCG. So it's all kind of one synonymous closing on April 1st, where all the funds will be exchanging hands and properties and titles, which I'll let Jeff and his team handle that side of the equation. Happy to answer any questions about the financing, but that's a big picture overview. This was the mechanism that allows us to pursue. We're recommending the proposal that offered the lowest interest rate, and we'll be working diligently towards a quick closing here in just 2 weeks from today, roughly 2 weeks from today. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Gephardt?
Yeah, I got some. I don't know if it's for you or who it might be, but what did the property appraise for?
We got an appraisal and an appraised for $1,750,000, the purchase price.
Exactly the same price. That's interesting. Okay. What's the extra money that we're doing it with again now? The extra 250,000?
It gives us the ability to do work there too, and then looking at doing, I don't know what we call the little one-off stations, but down there on the property down off, what's the road?
Eldora Road.
Eldora Road.
Okay, so
We-
that
We went down
250
there and we staked that out, I guess, a week or two ago,
Okay, so that 250 is going to cover all that.
both.
Now, are we going to have to deed both of them over to ECCG or just one of them?
No,
Because we're
no, this
doing
is in
two
the-
fire stations.
In the total financing, yes.
Okay, so
And we've
they're,
got a truck that can go in the building down at Eldora already, because we'll be moving one. I don't know, Ben, help me, but the one over next to All Greens, it's the one
13.
we can shift, because we won't need it anymore because of this coverage.
so we're moving
Station
that.
13.
Okay, so that building's going to be moved down to all part of this $2 million.
The truck, definitely. The building, we need to evaluate whether it makes, if it's more expensive to move an old metal building or build a new metal building down there.
Is that gonna cost more money, or is all of it gonna be within that
With-
250?
Within this.
Okay.
And then we also have money in there's a TAD down there at that intersection as well that we have funds in also. So,
Okay. I'm just interested, because, if we can move a building for 250,000, why didn't we just move a building to the IDA land? But
Yeah.
that's gonna stop right there with me, so, appreciate you, thank you.
Thank you.
The early payoff,
Yes, sir.
what kind of penalties or what, we gonna have to go to full length of this term?
Correct. June 15th, 2032 is when you can pay it off at any time without any penalty. If there is available dollars prior to 2032, you're still going to owe the bank the interest due up until that time. But what you're able to do is create an escrow fund, which legally defuses the bonds. So you could set aside the money in a pot that says this money's dedicated to paying it off, and it can earn interest to help offset. So in theory, we could pay it off early, but it'd be legally,
It'd be a
outstanding.
fund on its own.
That's right.
yeah. And when we looked at this, we, talking amongst ourselves, we doubted we would have a lot of extra cash in the next handful of years with, I think, the commission's wish to staff up some more stations. So we figured it made sense to go with the lower interest rate, and then recognizing it'd be 5 or 6 years out before, commission may have those.
Right, I just never
Resources.
like to handcuff myself, if we get opportunity,
Right, right.
not to have something.
We're just trying to balance all that out. Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chairman, I got my insurance carrier to run an analysis on a $350,000 to $400,000 home. Now, there's 1,000 houses down there in the Eldora community. Now, the ISO rating of 10 was $3,000 a year. A 4 was $2,500. A 4Y was $2,500. A 4 was less than $2,000. Now, not every house is a $350,000 to $400,000 house, but this savings of home insurance is every year back to the people down there that have a house. And this is an initial cost of appraised or thought of $250,000. Now, this ISO rating is directly proportionate to the water and having a fire truck down there. Now, this is extremely important to this community down there that has really no ISO rating at all but a 10.
Any other comments related to the financing piece of this? If not, I'm going to call for a motion that we open this up to the floor for public comment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Cassandra Michael.
My comments don't have to do with the fire station. Y'all already decided to buy the fire station, that's fine. My comments have to do with the financing of it. Is there not any way that we don't have to finance this? Like, can we not just pay cash for it? I mean, it'd be like, our county budget is $70 million. This is $2 million. That'd be like a household making $70,000 financing a refrigerator. Like, to me, I don't believe that we should cost the taxpayers additional interest to finance this. To me, if we can't pay cash for it, we can't afford to finance it either. That's it. Thank you.
So to clarify, I think that the reason that we're pursuing a financing method for this is if we pay cash outright and stroked a check today, that money would come out of our general fund, which would be property taxes, which would mean that people they'd eat that cost in their property taxes. By funding it this way, we're using SPLOST money, a 1 cent sales tax, which it will not affect people's property taxes because it's being paid for with a 1 cent sales tax. So that's why we're going this method.
And I just
Putting
want
this-
to add,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that if we are planning to use SPOS funding to purchase it, and we could pay cash, but that handcuffs our ability to buy fire trucks, to buy ambulances, to buy sheriff's vehicles, and all the other things that we buy out of public safety SPOS. So that's why we decided to do it this way.
I only had one person that signed up for public comment. Is there anybody else who would like to speak at this time?
Miss Venus, I emailed you about public comment from the library.
Later on in the agenda.
This is just public comment related to the finance in the fire station right now. Okay, since we don't have anybody else, I'm going to call for a motion to close the floor to public comments on this matter.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously, and I believe we need a motion to approve the financing plan. Is that correct?
Well, no, sir, that's under new business.
Okay, never mind then. We'll just wait on that. So the next item on the agenda is actually public comments. So at this time, I'll recognize those citizens who have signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 5 minutes.
Ms. Caitlin Capper.
Good morning. My name is Caitlin Capper. I'm here with the Statesboro Regional Public Libraries. I am our genealogy and local history coordinator for the region. So we do have 6 libraries in 5 counties, but Statesboro Bullock is our first. It is our headquarters. And I just wanted to come today to thank you all because the Statesboro Bullock County Library has just celebrated its 90th birthday. In September of 1935, a group of concerned citizens, parent-teachers associations, and just businesses, people in the community, came to the then Bullock County Board of Commissioners and said, we need to do something. We need books for our children and for our community. And at the time, there was no library service and very few literacy or educational services available outside of small one-room schoolhouses scattered throughout the county. The Board of Commissioners realized this was in the height of the Great Depression. A single dollar was equivalent to about $24 today. The Board of Commissioners said, if you can get the community support, we are behind you. A board for our library was created, and by March 14th of 1936, more than $1,000 had been raised by the community, and the Board of Commissioners here nearly matched that, and a library was opened. As I said, we just celebrated our 90th birthday. In the time since then, we have grown to be the head of a regional system, expanded those library services throughout rural communities. In the first month of the library's operation in March of 1936, they had 300 active library memberships, and those were typically family or school memberships. Now we have over 17,000 just this month who are actively using their card, much less those who have cards but maybe haven't popped by the library for a few months. This has been such a long partnership. You know, we can't do what we do without the support of the county. We wouldn't even exist without the support of the county. And so as we celebrate the 90th birthday of our services, I also wanted to celebrate the 90th birthday of that partnership and thank you all. I actually have a birthday card. And when we had a community birthday party at the library on Friday for our children and patrons to come in, have a cake, celebrate, spend time together, everybody got a little pin as a birthday present because this is also a community birthday. This is something that we want to celebrate all together. So I have these here for you guys today, and I just wanted to thank you for having me. We have enjoyed 90 years of working together to serve our community, and we look forward to many more. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Margot Bragg.
Good morning. My name is Margot Bragg. I, along with my ex-husband and daughter, own a small farm in Leafield, Georgia. In November, a representative of Georgia Transmission, a company that buys land for EMC, stopped by the house and said they were looking for land in the area to build a substation. They wanted to know if we would be interested in selling our land. The answer was a firm no. In December, a letter and pamphlet was sent to the house from Georgia Transmission requesting permission to survey our farm. Included in the envelope was a pamphlet that explained property owners' rights and eminent domain. Again, this was told, at this time we told them no, we were not willing to sell. I did not grant permission to survey, and I called Brent Tucker, the individual who signed the letter, to tell him that the land is not for sale, and he did not have permission to survey our land. He told me that because of the land's location to the power line, my land is considered a preferred site. They would look at possibly 2 other sites, but if they didn't find anything, they would come back to my property. I have met with Greg Proctor, CEO of EMC. I've met with him twice to make sure that he understood that we did not want to sell our property and that I did not appreciate being bullied by Brent Tucker. Eminent domain is a big stick given to Brent to use to manipulate citizens in Georgia to sell property that is not for sale. Brent will tell you that eminent domain is not used very often by his company. But to me, that using the power of eminent domain at all would be using the power far too often. Brent Tucker called me again last Friday and said that they were looking at one other piece of property near ours that might be suitable for a substation. I actually think it's on some land that you farm, Mr. Davis. He said it would be very expensive, somewhere around $250,000 if they were to obtain that land to build access points to that land, if EMC had to build roads to that property. I asked him if he realized that building a substation on our land would diminish the value of our entire small farm and would therefore be very expensive for us. $250,000 for EMC is easily generated. But for me, a retired school teacher, $250,000 is a lot of money. And we are very limited in our ability to recoup that money that would devalue the farm forevermore. He asked me again if they could survey the land. I told him no, that our land is not for sale. My daughter will own this land one day, and she has plans to use it when she graduates from college. Owning this farm will make her one of the few, if not the only black female farm owners in Bullitt County. I want her to be able to have options as to what she does with this land. A substation would significantly limit her options as far as the usage of this property, and it would limit her ability to build her house on her own farm without having a substation in her backyard. I, like many other people, was taught that when you tell someone no, they should listen. I was also taught that it was wrong to take something or even threaten to take something that does not belong to you. Please help me make Georgia Transmission, Brent Tucker, and EMC understand that no is no, and that the power of eminent domain will not be used in Bullitt County. Thank you.
Cassandra Michael.
Sorry, I know y'all just love to hear from me. My question is about the impact fee board. In a county of 85,000 people, how come we don't have new people on the impact fee board? We have a few repeats on that board. I know Miss Sandra Futch, sitting here in the audience, has hounded Mr. Pope. I was going to ask him how many times Miss Futch has asked Mr. Pope about impact fees. To me, she would be an ideal person to serve on that board. I believe we should have new people serving on every single board. We shouldn't have repeated people. So take that as you will. Thank you.
Moving into the consent agenda. Got item number 1, approve the minutes from March the 3rd, 2026. Item number 2, approve an accreditation partner and care agreement between the American College of Cardiology Foundation and the Bullock County EMS. Number 3, approve a contract with the City of Statesboro to extend water to new corporate hangars in the amount of $195,470. Number 4, approve a sole source quote from Flow Rider Incorporated Whitewater for the purchase of Flow Rider foam and wrap for Splash in the Borough Water Park in the amount of $58,550. Number 5 has already been moved to the new business. Number 6, approve a 30-year ground lease with Statesboro Airport JV LLC for corporate hangar construction. Number 7, approve a bid for trail parking sidewalk construction at Fletcher Park and Brooklet Soccer Complex from Benchmark Construction of Georgia LLC in the amount of $562,494.48. Number 8, approve an interlocal participation agreement with Byboard National Purchasing Cooperative. Number 9, approve the appointments of Marcus Toole, Keely Thinnell, Carolyn Nelson, Paul Newman, Dr. Frank Davis, Kathy Todd, and Jean Ann Marsh to serve as members of the Bullock County Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Number 10, and approve an intergovernmental agreement with Bullock County, Bryan County, and Georgia Southern University for groundwater monitoring. We can approve these items collectively, or we can move any item to new business for further discussion. What would y'all like to do?
I'd like to move number 3, 5, 6, 7, 9. I think 5's already moved.
5's already moved, so I got 6, 7, and 9. Okay, so that leaves item number 1, 2, 4, 8, and 10 on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Chairman, move that we approve the items with the exception of those that you just read off.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the consent agenda, item number 3, approve a contract with the City of Statesboro to extend water to new corporate hangars in the amount of $195,470.
I'm Kathy Boykin, the airport manager. Happy to answer any questions.
How much is Statesboro contributing to this?
They have got all the plans made with their engineers, the city of Statesboro's engineers. Christie, I'll let you respond to that.
I believe that they're covering the cost of the design and engineering, but we are covering the cost out of T-Splost for the construction of the water line.
Because I think I saw engineering part of the breakdown. Are we actually going to get a bid price, or are we just going to work off an estimate, an engineering estimate?
They're putting it out for bid.
So shouldn't we wait for the bid so we can pay that exact amount? Because engineering costs lately have been fluctuating, as we can see in some of the bids that we're getting today.
Right.
Well, so the hangars are up. We need to move on this. They've already put the binder base down. So I asked Statesboro to go ahead with the process. I think it's actually been advertised now. So this amount could come down if it comes in under the engineer estimate. But we did do T-Splost out of it. One of the things we did go back and do was make sure that the lines are sized correctly, so that we'll have fire protection there in the future, with the hopes of extending water and wastewater to the entire airport property. So,
But this is just water lines. This isn't wastewater, right?
correct, just water. Those hangars right now, they're having to put in septic tanks and drain fields.
Okay. You said the hangar's already built.
They've done a lot of the work, site works there.
Infrastructure's built, right?
Yeah.
In fact, the leases to construct the hangars are one of the ones you pulled off the consent.
Yes, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions about those too.
Okay.
So the county of T-Splost, our county taxpayer money that we give to T-Splost is going to go pay a water line that's going to go to 2 hangars that we're not getting paid rent for. Is that correct?
Eventually, the whole hangar building will revert to the county,
Yes, ma'am, but that's after 30 years, right?
right? And,
And that's if the building's even still there.
well, I would think it would be. But additionally, I just spoke to the GDOT, our GDOT Aviation Project Manager, and we may be able to get reimbursed for this water line through federal and state funds.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but right now, we're voting today to give to it. And I just don't see how a government can take money from the county taxpayers, give it to two individual companies, and not request any money in return for it. I mean, that just blows my mind. I mean, it really does. And I hadn't even got to the leases yet.
Yeah, and let me just say the rent for the leases is basically the cost to construct the hangars, which the private parties are paying that cost.
I realize that.
Yeah,
I do.
okay.
But I mean, at the year 30, they could go bankrupt, the building could get torn down, and we don't have anything in return.
No, ownership to the building will automatically transfer to the county.
But if there's no building there, if they lapse on insurance, I mean, we're not getting any money at all.
It costs so much to build a hangar. The last one the county built was close to $1 million. They're building the same thing, two of them, so that would be $2 million.
I realize that, but I don't,
The county.
but what's the county getting on it for the first 30 years?
You're getting rid
have-
of the risk of speculating and building a hangar and then have somebody backing out on you 2 or 3 years down the line. This way, it protects the county from the risk of someone defaulting. Because if at any point in this 30 years, something happens, it does roll to the county. But if you're fronting the money, then you're trying to hold the lease and hold somebody and collect them rent and everything else and hoping it stays whole.
And I also see that we're pulling out of T-Splosh. Now, we got residents that's coming up here off of Ponderosa Road and Banksbury Road all the time complaining about their roads. And I'm assuming the reason why we hadn't done that is because we don't have the money for it. But here, we're going to give $195,000 to get a water line run to two hangars that we're not getting any rent off of.
There's additional benefit to having those hangars there. We'll get 4 jets. Those hangars could also be used for maintenance, which we severely need at the airport. Those jets or maintenance, either one, bring people to the community. The people that come in visit our community, they visit the businesses. We sell fuel, and that runs airport operations. Each of those jets that come in pay in taxes. They pay property taxes just like a car. That goes into the general fund. So every aircraft out there helps support the county as well as support the businesses in the county.
Okay, are these people paying any property taxes actually of the building itself?
Not on the building
How
itself.
about fire tax?
I'm not sure about that.
School tax? So if there's a fire at this hangar, I personally, my tax dollars is having to pay for that fire department to go out there and put a fire out, and these people that own the building don't have any taxes to pay on it. Is that correct?
Actually, it's in the city of Statesboro, so they would cover it.
But it will now have fire protection line, it'll have water lines so that there will be
Right.
water there to put out a fire. I also just want to point out that T-Splosh has 2 different projects. We have money allocated for roads, and we have a separate pot of money that is already allocated for the airport. So this money is allocated for airport projects, and we can't use it to do anything with roads anyway.
Well, I just don't see the stretch. I mean, that's really stretching it to put a water line in using T-Splosh. That's my take. I mean, I can understand if we were doing a runway, if we were putting a road in, I could see all that, but to put a water line in, how does that even relate to a transportation?
Because the airport itself is a transportation.
I mean, I understand that
So-
side of it, but I just don't know how you can say a 6-inch water line is transportation.
Under the T-Splosh law, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but anything for like an airport or a bus station or a train station is considered a transportation project because that's the whole purpose of that site.
I understand. It just looks bad whenever we got people coming up here to just about every meeting, sitting here standing at that same podium complaining about the dirt roads, and they're actually paying taxes. That's my point, is we got citizens that pay taxes in this county, and we're not covering them, but we're going to spend money to give to the rich.
So separate
That
pot
just
of
blows my
money,
mind.
separate pot of money. But let's also remember that you park an airplane out there at that airport, when they hangar it there, which they will do, we collect personal property tax on every one of those airplanes. We're not talking, I don't even want to venture what the value of one of those jets are, but it's well over $1 million. And we collect personal property tax at the rate of, could you help me out here, please, Christie?
I cannot help you out on exactly what the rate is.
Well, it'd be the millage,
It would be the
whatever the
millage
millage
rate,
rate
yeah.
is, yeah.
So they are paying taxes, and they are not paying property tax on that building, but it's, as was stated earlier, we are avoiding the risk, the speculative cost of building a building. What these people are saying is, we are going to lease a building from you for 30 years. We are going to cover the cost to build that building. With that, we are going to hangar an airplane in there. One that is a well, I can tell you, that jet right now is probably $5 million
Minimum.
on the low end. They are going to hangar it there. They will buy gas there.
Speaking to the fire, just like he said, we've got the jets in the hangars. If something catches on fire, we've got to have adequate water, adequate.
Well, I'm not stating that you
But-
don't. My point is that there's
Where
a
the
fire
money's
truck that's
coming-
got to go out there to help out. And there's no tax being collected on that. A fire tax, like everybody else does. I got to pay a fire tax. I'm assuming you live in the county, you got to pay a fire tax. Everybody stinting out here has got to pay a fire tax, except that hangar.
It's in the city.
It's either way. Do what?
Oh,
I also want to just bring up, the fact of, we're talking about getting in the water business, but spending $195,000, if the two water bills are $250 a month, it's going to take 33 years to recoup that money.
And
Just
we're
wanted to
putting in
throw
a
that in.
6-inch water line out there, is that correct? So that we could also use that water line for other things at the airport, is that correct?
that's correct. And that water line extension goes back past property that future plans are to build more hangars. So it's not just those two hangars. It will eventually service other hangars along
There'll be
that
another
taxiway.
extension, right?
No, sir.
Because it looked like it stopped at the end of the property for future. I saw a 6-inch valve and it looked like it was going to extend on down to another future hangar.
There's, from the current T hangars, the new T hangar we're building, there's space there for 3 or 4 rows of T hangars, and that 6-inch water line would serve that whole area.
And there are other buildings besides, especially the airport building, but there's other buildings out there that'll benefit from the ISO rate for us having the fire extinguisher and everything on board, and the insurance on the planes and everything else out there. So, forestry department and all.
I can also tell you that having a water line out there adds to adequate water protection. There was an incident about 2 weeks ago where there was an airplane that lost an engine due to an engine fire. We're talking a commuter jet that was going to land in Savannah. They could not land there initially because there was so much debris on the airport, on the runway, from when that airplane, when they lost the engine on takeoff. They considered bringing that aircraft to our airport because we had the only airport that was adequate in length for that airplane to land on. They did not bring it here because we did not have adequate fire protection at our airport. So we get a water line there and we have adequate protection. Now, does that impact the people in this county? As far as today, it gives fire protection out there. It gives us a chance to grow that airport, which will bring in additional revenue. So,
But isn't there already water out there?
from a well,
Well, it is city water, but it's inadequate.
What do you mean by inadequate?
It's got a 4-inch line coming into the airport, and then it doesn't extend all the way
Because I thought
down.
we were tying I thought this money was tying into a city line out there. Is that not
Yes.
It is-
correct?
That's it's for us to upgrade it to the 6-inch line.
Okay.
That's a part of it.
I couldn't even imagine them allowing a multi-million-dollar airplane to hangar in something that hadn't got adequate fire protection. I don't know how the people that's got private planes out there can afford the insurance without
Exactly.
adequate fire flow.
Any other comments or discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Perhaps. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Moving down to the next item on the agenda, approve a 30-year ground lease with HDM Enterprises for corporate hangar construction. Ms. Kathy, you got the floor.
Okay. And this is for one of those hangars that they intend to build. We've already done the infrastructure's been built. It was done with 90% federal, 5% state, and 5% local. So I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I apologize. Normally, I would be more prepared. But this is to approve the 30-year ground lease in exchange for the individual to build the hangar and you have use of that hangar for 30 years. At the end of 30 years, it reverts to the county. That precedent has been set. We've done it 2 other times. The first row of hangars has been back to the county for probably about 10 years. The second hangar will revert to the county in 2031.
Mr. Chairman, can I add to, the reason we asked for this to be removed from the consent agenda is the lease is no longer with HDM Enterprises, Inc. Now, we were told, basically the 2 individuals who are involved in this are Bill Howard and Matthew Woodrum. Now, this is Mr. Woodrum's hangar, but we were initially told was the name of the lessee that he wanted it in. Late yesterday afternoon, we were informed that no, we want it in the Statesboro Airport JV LLC, which is the same as the other one, which is as I understand it, a jointly owned LLC owned by Mr. Howard and Mr. Woodrum, solely for the purpose of sharing the cost of construction of these 2 hangars. And once they're completed, then they're going to assign their individual leases to another entity that they will individually own. Mm-hmm. And this company will be dissolved at that point, is the way it was explained to me. But that's why we had to move. And I have the revised lease here. It's exactly the same as the one you have, other than the name of the lessee has been changed.
So I'm going to ask the simple question here. Is this legal?
Yes.
Okay.
You're talking about changing the name of the lessee or the
Yes,
whole
sir.
lease?
All of this.
Oh, yeah, it's legal, yeah.
It's commonly done throughout other airports. It's FAA approved.
Questions or comments from the board?
Show my displeasure from the previous one. Also, I've heard rumors that there's actual empty hangars out there at the airport. Even though they're leased, they're empty. Is that correct?
No, sir.
So every hangar out there has planes in it 90%
Right,
of the time?
unless they're out flying.
Okay.
Right. They've got aircraft in them. Some of them have 4 or 5.
How deep's our waiting list for hangar space?
Right now, it's, with the new T hangars coming on, it was 75, it'll be down to 65.
65?
That's 65 aircraft.
Would it make sense to go up on some of the rent out there so we could get that hangar list down?
We're analyzing that right now. We're discussing it.
I just still think it's nuts, but that's just me. Y'all can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-1, or excuse me, 4-1. Moving on, item number 6, approve a 30-year ground lease with Statesboro Airport JV LLC for corporate hangar construction. Ms. Kathy?
This is the same situation as number 5, except the lessee is Statesboro Airport JV LLC. So there again, they would construct the hangar at the end of 30 years. It would revert to the county. In the meantime, they would store their aircraft. We also hope, let me back up a minute. Each one of these units they're building has 2 bays in it, so it's a total of 4 bays. Each of these owners have an aircraft that they plan to put in it. The second bay could be, we've had discussions about renting it for maintenance, renting it for a charter service, something like that that would bring additional business to Bullock County and ultimately support the citizens of the county. So this is, like I said, this lease is a ground lease. At the end of 30 years, the hangar, the individual bill would revert to the county.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call for motion on this item.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? And all opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Moving down to item number 7 on the consent agenda, approve a bid for trail parking and sidewalk construction at Fletcher Park and Brooklet Soccer Complex with Benchmark Construction of Georgia LLC in the amount of $562,494.48.
Good morning. Good morning.
I got my numbers wrong, D. You're good to go. I'll make a motion to approve whenever we get to that point.
All right, well, I just want to tell you about this project. What we have here is with the Fletcher Park. That's one of the areas here, right up here off of Main Street. I thought it was kind of cool, and one of the things people heard about what we're going to be doing at this project. And we actually had a wedding. We held a wedding out there. I guess it was in October. So at Fletcher Park, I know we've talked about this before, but what you guys are going to see out there at Fletcher, we will do a walking trail that's around the pond. We're going to have restrooms. We'll have a pavilion that also we can hopefully locate in the appropriate area to where we do have more weddings because of the scenic views that we have out there. And then also we're going to do the playground because that is one of the sites that we are using for our summer camps and things for the children that we have there. Also linked into this is Brooklet. As we discussed before, Brooklet, that land that we have there at the soccer field, that was donated to us by the Jones family. I can't remember how long ago, it was over 10 years ago. And one of the things that the Jones family wanted was for us to do a walking trail right there around the soccer fields right there as part of the giving us that land. So that's kind of what we're doing in Brooklyn. We're trying to fulfill that promise to that family. Also, there we are currently updating our pavilion. We're extending it out and just kind of dressing it up a little bit there in Brooklyn. And this money that we have for Brooklyn is coming from the city of Brooklyn. They did have $300,000 that they had in their SPLOST funds that they presented to Tony and I at a meeting. And that's what we're using for those funds for that project. And the Fletcher is just we actually rolled this one over probably 3 years to finally finish up and get what we're doing Fletcher with our SPLOST dollars. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
This donation of land at the Brooklet Soccer Field goes all the way back to the 1990s, and I was a part of that because I was on the Recreation Board. It's really old business, but I'm glad to see us moving forward and cementing this commitment that we made.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments at this time? If not, I'm going to call for a motion on this item.
To approve, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 9, approve the appointments of Marcus Toole, Keely Fennell, Carolyn Nelson, Paul Newman, Dr. Frank Davis, Kathy Todd, and Jean Ann Marsh to serve as members of the Bullock County Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. Before Mr. Pope gets started, I'll try my best to explain what's going on here. By state law, we are required before we can initiate an impact fee to conduct an impact fee study. We had a public hearing on this at our last meeting. One of the requirements for that is that we have a committee made up of local community members to provide advisory information to the consultants on the impact fee study. With that, there's a requirement that 50% of the people on that board must be from the building industry. So 4 of those people on that list are all considered from the building industry. That's Mr. Marcus Toole, Ms. Keely Fennell, Carolyn Nelson, and Paul Newman. The other 3 people that were appointed to that board were appointed because they had already been vetted by the county commission. We did this because we did not want to delay this study while we tried to vet other individuals to be part of this board. That's the only reason we did it. The folks that are on there, Ms. Jean Ann Marsh is the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. She has input into planning and zoning. She deals with this stuff every day. And we felt that her knowledge and expertise in that subject would be relevant and helpful to the board. The same thing with Ms. Kathy Todd. She is the retired CFO for the city of Beaufort and has an expert level understanding of government finance, particularly impact fees and their implementation. So, and then Mr. Davis, Dr. Davis, just has a wealth of knowledge and experience related to all things statistical and analytical. And again, the intent here, I'd love to put new folks on the board. I'd love to put fresh faces everywhere. But in order to do that, we would have to vet those folks. And I can tell you that in the past, when this commission has vetted folks, it has taken months to get them approved. I want to see impact fees just as much as everybody else in this room does. I did not want to delay that process. Mr. Pope, you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, sir. Well, that's pretty well covers what I was going to say, so.
Questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, we've known about this committee since, June, July? Why didn't we start vetting them then and not wait till the last minute and just throw people on there? I mean, I have no issue at all with any of the people on there. I just don't like seeing the same people on. And it's the same thing I said whenever I ran, same thing you said, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Davis down there. We don't want to keep using the same people. And here we are using the same people in one of them. And I mean, I don't have any issue at all with the names, but this is not a surprise. I mean, we knew this was coming back in July whenever we initiated that. And I don't know, every committee that we've done since I've been here for 15 months, we've done applications, we've pulled out applications, we've done it. But right here, I didn't even know we were doing this till I got the agenda last week, that Wednesday. And I just think the process, if you're going to use one process, we need to stick with the process. And we've been using that process, and all of a sudden now we're saying, well, we just don't have time. Well, we did have time back in July. And if we need to push this back 2 more months so we can get a good group of candidates and new faces, then that's what we need to do. I just don't like getting thrown in the last minute like this and then say, well, we've got to get it done, got to get it done.
We don't have to get it done.
Well, I say we table it and open it up applications to the public and move from there.
Are you making a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for that.
Do we have a second for that motion? Hearing no second, the motion dies on the floor. I'll call for another motion on this item.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment or ask a question? Mr. Pope, were some of the people interviewed for these positions declined to commit to serving on this committee?
Yes, each of the folks for the appointments have committed to attend the meetings, about 3 or 4 meetings over the process.
But some of the people you contacted declined to serve.
There was 1 or 2 that, for whatever reason, didn't want to do it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Pope.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, County Attorney Jeff Akins got a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the execution of documents related to the financing of the purchase and renovation of a public safety facility.
Yes, sir, and I'll just briefly say you have a resolution before you that approves the transaction. I don't see any need to go into any more detail. Mr. Gebhardt pretty well presented it before the public hearing unless anybody has any questions.
Any comments or discussion from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion on this item.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. Mr. Mitch Johnson, I got a motion to approve a contracted haul and fuel surcharge pricing with Sand Creek Land Construction LLC.
Mr. Chairman, before this starts, I would like to accuse myself from this one,
Absolutely.
please, sir. How are y'all this morning?
I'm well. How are you, Mr. Mitch?
All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Clay had contacted me last week and wanted to know if I would put this in to kind of help them out, which we all know fuel's gone up. And I think we should offer to help to him, and when the fuel prices go back down, we'll ask him and we'll take the price back down like it was. If
I have a question to ask, and I'm going to refer this to Jeff and try to make this to where we're not having to constantly negotiate this again and again. In the background information, and I'm going off the top of my head here and after working all night long, there is an agency that monitors fuel surcharges and an average for the nation. Is that correct?
That's my understanding from what I read.
And that's what this
The
number is
letter.
being based off of.
I think that's correct.
Would it be possible that we could just make an addendum to this contract that says that we will pay based off of that national average?
I think we could. I'd like to know more about, and I don't know how often they update this. I don't know do you know?
I don't either, Mr. Jeff. I sure don't.
Because, I mean, I understand prices have gone up significantly on fuel, and I know that what happens is it goes up by dollars and it comes down by dimes.
Yes, sir.
And I absolutely think that we should pay fair market value. But if we could just implement something now to where we say we're going to pay the market price versus a set price, that protects Mr. Connor and the county to make sure that, you know, we don't come 3 months from now and try to enact this contract and fuel prices have dropped significantly at that time. So, with
Mr.
that-
Connor, do you mind coming up here and explaining this letter that you sent to us and try to maybe that might help figure all this stuff out?
Good morning.
Morning.
Basically, the setup fuels went to $5 something a gallon. When we done this contract, it was in the threes. I'm not trying to rate nobody or anything else. It cost me $125 to $175 more a day per truck just in fuel.
Sure.
All right. We get a weekly update of fuel surcharges. I think this past week it was 42%. I'm asking for 32. There's, like I said, it goes up and down. We get every week we get something from another company that we haul for, and I'm trying to provide a good service, and be profitable to continue to do this.
Completely understand. Would it be amicable to you if we put something in there and just said that we just would pay the market instead of having to?
I have no problem with that, and if it goes up and comes down, I mean, the base rate stays the same. All we're getting is either a little more or a little less on the fuel surcharge.
Okay.
Mr. Connor, I think leading into what Attorney Jeff Akins said, he'd like to read a little more. Is there any way, what would be satisfactory a month? And then we let you read up on it, Jeff, and see if can we do that?
That'll be
I mean,
fine.
Would that be presentable to everybody to just give him, or whatever, y'all name the time, and then that'll give Jeff time enough to read up on it, and then.
Can we table this to the next meeting and give you a chance to read up on it?
Well, I'd like to get him paid. I'd like to get him
Right.
paid.
Yeah, we're not trying to, are you currently hauling with the county?
No.
No,
Yeah, he's holding.
Oh, you are hauling
Yes,
for the
sorry.
county? Okay.
But, I mean, I'm not up there asking for a check today or anything. I'm just making it aware of, hey, you know, this stuff's gotten, you know, out of hand, so on and so forth. You know, I mean, I don't have no problem with doing that or anything else. And we keep up our records on our side of it, and y'all can look at it, and we can come back, meet in the middle somewhere and agree on something and go from there. You know, I just wanted to make y'all aware of what I'm dealing with.
I completely understand.
Can I ask, okay, the Lower Atlantic fuel surcharge average, that's something put out by the U.S. Department of Energy, is that correct? So fluctuate. How often do they,
We get an update every week.
you get an update every week?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's only till recently it's got this crazy. I mean, was it like a couple of percentages up or down typically during the week until
I see
it's all?
something, my wife handles a lot of this more, but I think starting in January, it was up 27%. And it's steady going up since then. Obviously the last 2 weeks have been, a big change for us, but I mean, like I said, I just.
I think we can craft something and tie it to that. I mean, we can figure out a way to make it work for both sides.
Jeff, if you have 2 weeks, would that be enough time for you to?
Yeah, I think so. Now,
Okay.
I won't be here April the 1st, actually. I mean, the first meeting in April.
But
But
you
we can have it ready.
Okay.
We'll have it ready.
Okay.
Does that work with you, Mr. Connors?
Fine.
Does that work with you? Okay,
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
So I need a motion.
How does this need to be worded?
We just need to table this for 2 weeks.
Motion to table.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Ron Nelson, I got a motion to approve a contract with Ellis Wood Contracting in the amount of $67,640 to perform demolition of an existing asphalt driveway and construction of a new asphalt driveway at Bullock County EMS Fire Station 1 on Grady Street in Statesboro. Looks like we're going to fund this through T-Splost.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. So come to you today, give you a little background on this situation right here. So on September the 8th, 2025, the County Engineering Office was asked to review the existing asphalt driveway pavement condition at the Bullock County EMS and Fire Station Number 1 on West Grady Street in Statesboro. So this is not a typical driveway. This is one that's going to have heavy fire trucks, loaded water. We'll have ambulances. So it's a 3-bay station house that has traffic that'll leave in an emergency situation and proceed down the width of that driveway down to West Grady Street. It's a 94-foot long driveway that extends from the 3-bay station house itself. It is 3 bays wide, so it is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 feet wide, I believe. And that area over time has just become faulty. It is just failed. It's we believe it's got about 2 inches of asphalt, and it's probably very aged asphalt. It's been more than 30 years probably since it was put in place. It's got some soil, as far as the content of the soil, it's heavy in the clay area. And that location was rehabilitated most recently by the Public Works Group. Mitch did a great job to get us through for a few more months back in January of 2026. And they placed a geotextile material, and they put in about 18 inches of GAB and put in some steel plates in the middle bay area where the heaviest truck is that departs there in emergency situations and also backs up. That uses that same location to reload the station house. So we went into developing, our office did bid documents, came up with a plan, came up with a typical section, and we elected to go with an asphalt typical section that is tried and proven by GDOT. So it'll be a very heavy, same typical section actually being placed in the right turn lane on State Route 67 going into Anderson Cemetery Road. So it's 18.5 inches in thickness total with the GAB and the asphalt pavement itself. We did go through a request for quote since we are less than $250,000. We did reach out to the local contracting community, and we asked that they would be GDOT pre-qualified as well, so that they would have the area class expertise to do this work. And we were able to solicit and receive 6 quotes, and the quotes ranged from as follows. Benchmark Construction submitted a quote for $58,744.05. Ellis Wood Contracting submitted a quote for $67,640. Underground Excavating submitted a quote for $69,765. Sims Paving and Construction submitted a quote for $87,548.50. JF Brunson submitted a quote for $108,050. Reeves Construction Company submitted a quote for $109,845. The lowest quote that was from Benchmark Construction, we were reviewing the bid documents they were provided to us. They were not GDOT pre-qualified at the time. They are or will be by the end of this month, more than likely. I did contact Atlanta and spoke with the general office and was told they did submit their paperwork in, but they just were not GDOT pre-qualified as a contractor. They are GDOT pre-qualified as a subcontractor, and our bid document said as a contractor. That being the case, we went to our second lowest quote, which was from Elliswood Contracting for $67,640. They are GDOT pre-qualified. We also noted in our write-up that this is a little over 10% less than what our original estimate was going to be for this work, and we would urge you to approve a contract $67,640 to perform the work at this location, and the cost will be funded by T-Splost. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion on this item.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
And I'll just mention here for the record that with the agenda packet, the departmental reports have been submitted. They are available for your review at your leisure. Any comments from the staff?
I'm going to beat D to it while he's walking up. Just a quick update on the jail. As you know, it's the biggest project we've got going. We have selected an architect engineering team. We're in the process of negotiating with them. Hope to have a contract for commission's consideration at the April meeting. We had all-day interviews yesterday with construction management at risk firms. We've landed on one there as well. So we'll do a little bit more vetting on that, make sure, and then we will enter into contract negotiations there and should have that presented to you as well. Timetables we're looking at, as you know, we'll get them on board, go through the design process. The reason we're selecting both now is that way the general contractor can work with the architect engineering team. Sometimes architects design things that can't be built, or there's better ways. So it's good to have them working together from up front, and would expect a groundbreaking around the first of the year. So it is a fairly lengthy design process, but I think we're moving along at a pretty good clip.
Cool. All right. Dadrian Cosby, Recreation Director. Just wanted to remind everybody that this coming weekend, we will have our swing into spring out there at Mill Creek. It's going to be a great day. Having a lot of kids so far. We've had some good practices, decent weather up until late. You know, Mother Nature's kind of going back and forth on us a little bit. But it should be a great weekend. So if you guys have a Saturday free, please, by all means, come on out and see some kids. Get active with our baseball, softball, and soccer. So thank you.
Christie, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to give us the basics on the who, what, when, where, and why for the budget retreat that starts tomorrow.
Budget retreat starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow at the Bishop Fieldhouse at Georgia Southern, and it will follow the same format that it has the last couple of years. So we'll hear from department heads on what they're, what they have going on, opportunities, challenges, staffing outlook, needs, future outlook for capital, all of those kinds of things.
And that's going to be Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes.
Starting at 9 o'clock at the Bishop Center at Georgia Southern.
Yes, 9 o'clock till about 4, between 4:30 sometime. We'll see. Last year, I know we got ahead of schedule and had some downtime, so it's hard. It's hard to guesstimate how long everybody's going to talk, but hopefully we'll keep it moving and it'll be interesting and have some good information for you.
And I just want to encourage the public to come on out. I know it's a huge time commitment to sit there for 2 days. If you can't come for the whole thing, come for when you can. But if you want to understand the challenges and the future outlook of what's going on in the county, this is the opportunity to do those things. So Any other comments from the staff? How about the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to let everybody know that, the ones that don't know, our past chairman, Mr. Roy Thompson, passed away. He'll be laid to rest Friday. I hadn't got the exact time, but, just want to let his family know that our thoughts and prayers go out to him. He served many years on many different boards, and, just wanted to recognize him and his family.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman. may I
Yes, sir.
speak? I'd like to congratulate the Portal High School boys basketball team. They won 25 games, or 26. They played for the state championship playoff. And I'd like to congratulate them, and I'd like to commend Coach Jeff Brannon for what he has accomplished at that school.
Any other comments from commissioners? And again, I'd like to second what Mr. Rushing said down there, as far as Mr. Thompson and his family. We did not always agree on everything, but I can tell you that, it takes a lot to serve in the public here. And I appreciate the fact that he was willing to stand up and sacrifice for all those years, for this community. And, his impact here, there's not a lot you can't touch in this county or see that he hasn't had something to do with. And his loss will be felt here for a long time to come. With that being said, we are going to move into executive session to discuss pending litigation and personnel.
And a break.
And we will add a 10-minute recess to that before we come back into
Thank you, Mr.
executive
Chairman. I
session.
appreciate that.
I just need a motion for us to move into executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We'll re-adjourn at 10:40. There will be no action taken